60 Plus Racing Adventures is the iRacing League specifically for racers aged 60 years of age or older, giving them an awesome community for weekly league racing on iRacing. And this is RaceSpotTV's live coverage of their Indy Next League from Circuit Gilles, Villeneuve, Montreal, rescheduled from a couple of weeks earlier in the calendar when iRacing had some maintenance. David Haynes with Craig King as we head to the streets of the island in the Dallara IL-15 Indy Next car. Craig, great to be here. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great run to the end of the season. We'll look at the championship in a minute, but the schedule looking really nice. The makeover here with Montreal, then a nice run to the end of the season. Chicago Street turning up next, and then we go to the Super Speedway of Daytona and at Laguna live here on RaceSpot. That's going to be fantastic, but the championship could be wrapped up soon because Roberto Catalano, almost perfect, David. He's only missed 9 points for perfection.
Yeah, he's having a really, really strong season, is the Italian, 383 points. He's ahead of Barry Hills and Paul Stump, Greg Garris, Ulf Olsen, Gerhard Jorrison, Mike McCormick, Eugene Clark, Steve O'Malley, and Trevor Lawrence is our top 10. We do commonly find across summer that a lot of our drivers, 60 plus, like to enjoy the outdoors, don't necessarily make it to every race. It's also been a hot summer for many of them across America and in Europe. But you cannot doubt the commitment of Roberto Catalano. He's here as we go into qualifying. We'll see where he can end up on the grid.
Yeah, they're doing their qualifying right now. 2 laps. They've got 10 minutes to do it. We're seeing Mike McCormick right now coming out of the hairpin and down the Casino Straight. This is where you're going to see a lot of opportunities for moves later on in the race. You've got to get it right when you get to the chicane at turn 13 and 14. You want to run too much over the curbs here. McCormick's done pretty well. There's the Wall of Champions. Yeah, well, we see Roberto hit it later because these cars will get a little bit sketchy on the rear if you get a bit too hot on that throttle. But first lap for McCormick. Well, he's about to start it right now, actually. Sorry, as he comes around it. Just look how much understeer if you get on the throttle for the virage center.
Yep, now it's a series of chicanes, trying to bounce across the curbs and stay off the wall. Maybe gives it just a little bit of kiss there. Turn 5 flat out in an open wheel like this with a bit of downforce, but then immediately braking into the next chicane. Curved exit means power application is challenging. Then you head underneath the bridge, brings everyone from the city onto the island, and you're braking in the shadows, turning in with these really high curbs on both, and then almost kissing the wall on the exit again as well for Mike McCormick. This is a street circuit in 90% of its configuration, and you're reminded in places like that.
You almost actually did touch the wall there, a little bit of suspension, but you do have to run close to the wall with the way that these curves on the inside do throw the car out a little bit. So Mike's looking for a real good run. He had a nice warm-up lap to get through this final chicane. Let's see if he tries and goes it again into second gear, gets onto the throttle, gets it nice and smooth, and that's what you want to do. Don't want to attach those curves too much because you'll be losing out. Greg Garris, first time in the board, and well, no time there for McCormick. Obviously, what I saw might have been a 0x that invalidated his lap. Here comes the champion-elect almost. Leading the championship right now is Roberto. What's he going to do? As he gets a very nice run through. The Italian will cross the line, David, and you'd feel that he might be on pole. He has by quite a margin. Only a tenth, though.
Very often seeing that across the 2 laps of qualifying, they go quicker in lap number 2 for multiple reasons. One is you just push a little bit harder if you've already got a time on the board you're trying to improve upon, and also that tyre warm-up seems to favour the second flying lap. Curtis Jorrison's first lap takes him to 4th, as there are now 8 drivers who've completed a lap, 7 drivers with a qualifying time. Ross Addy and Bruce Poole haven't done so yet, but as Poole comes across the line, consider himself a little bit of the hometown driver. I believe that's completing the out lap to begin his first flying lap. So he's a little offset on the timing compared to everyone else, but at minute 26 lap times, he'll be able to get his 2 flying laps in. Mike McCormick, his first lap didn't count, coming down the casino straight to the end of his second lap, again second gear through the final chicane. This one needs to count, and he'll be starting right towards the back of the grid. McCormick in the 99, taking a straight line to the timing beam and jumping up into 5th. Greg Garris also appears to be done with his qualifying. He's in 3rd at the moment as we go on board with Bruce Poole.
Yeah, Bruce going to be coming down the track now to the hairpin. You need to get a lot of concentration, really, when you go through. Roberto's just gone faster, by the way, as you can see on the timing tower, 0.2 faster. We're on board with Bruce. Be nice for a Canadian to get a good result here in qualifying at Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, a legendary street circuit in all of America. When you think about it, you've had NASCAR here, mainly the secondary series you've had here. You've also had a lot of the F1 nowadays. You also get other things, Porsche Cup, you name it, it's probably been here. He gets a nice run out of that final chicane. We'll come across the line. It's a 28.9. It's a respectable lap time, and more importantly, it means he doesn't have to start at the back of this very small but technical grid.
Paul Stump is second, and he's completed his 2 flying laps. It seems like it's just Russ Addy with a flying lap left to go in this qualifying session. Oh no, Bruce Poole and Russ Addy. Here is Russ Addy. His first lap was a 29.3. Bit of a warm-up lap as well. He's like a bit of a Ninja Turtle here. Green and yellow. I think that's Donatello. To the hairpin, arm over arm, down in first gear, and then trying to get straight drive off the exit past the old pit building. It's just him and Bruce Poole who can move the needle on the qualifying standings.
Go on board, you can just see he's got everything he needs to look at here. He'll go in. He turns a little bit early in to the chicane there, and that's where you saw him just kiss the curves a little bit. That will upset the car just a touch. Probably have to not get on the throttle as much as he wants. It's still a good time though. 27.9 puts him up into P7. So he's done pretty well there to get a good time. And now comes Bruce Poole. That first lap, well, put him on the board. Would love to go faster. Probably got a few tenths left in you. Bruce, what have you got across the line? He has got more than a few tenths. It will put him up 1 position, but that is 4 tenths faster than what he set the first time. That's a good day in the office for qualifying for Bruce.
So there's a few drivers out there on track still just warming up, but they've done their qualifying laps. So Barry Hills, Russ Addy, Peter Holstrom, their time in qualifying is locked in. It's either back to the pits or just complete a little bit more warm up here for them. Ooh, nice hole in the fence. Doesn't feel all that safe. Posy for the photographers.
Safety. I was going to say, yeah, you need a little bit of safety. Is that the hole that George Russell may have... I know it isn't, but you could say it's the hole that George Russell put his body through when his car broke down. But no, that's just there for the sake of it. But I do like what Barry's doing here. If they've got time left and you've got a little bit of fuel left, why not just give yourself a little bit more time to acclimatize yourself? Because this is quite a big day when you think about it. Barry would love to get a good result. But this is the pole lap from Roberto. And just look at the inputs here for the first few corners. And holes on the inside there. That is the crucial part of that turn 1, turn 2 complex. Holding the inside line there as you come down for the first set of chicanes. And then attack. But be smooth because you want to roll onto the throttle, avoiding that wall. And then this corner, in anything that doesn't have downforce, gotta give it a little bit of a lift. And then over the curves. This is my worst corner on the track, David. I can never find the right place to get on the throttle.
Yeah, curved. Coming out of that corner, you either sort of diamond it in a straight line or try to take a wide arc around the outside. And again, you're braking in the shadows into the next corner. And he gets those inside wheels just right up against those white curbs that you can't climb over in a low open wheel car like this. But you open up more angle if you just get really close to them. And he gets a nice late apex at the hairpin, just using a little bit of first gear before shifting up into second. A lot of horsepower in these Dallara IL-15s from their turbocharged AER motors. That propels him to some prodigious speed down the back straight before he holds third gear, carrying all of the momentum through the final chicane, pointing straight towards the timing line, and that is a 1:26.293, which is pole by 2/10. Don't think he'll be able to walk away with this. Paul Stump and Gerhardus Jorgensen not far behind him in those standings.
Yeah, not very far behind, but I think that third gear, I'll have to look back. I don't think any of the other drivers were trying to keep that in third gear for that chicane. They were trying to make sure they weren't invalidating their laps almost, but making sure they didn't hit the wall of champions. So very interesting that he was able to carry that much speed, and that could be the difference he needs at the end of the day. It's just maintaining the speed through these chicanes.
Two races ahead of us today for 60-plus Racing Adventures Indy Next from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal. The grid is set for race number 1, and the championship leader, Roberto Catalano, is looking at a home stretch run of races to get himself to the championship. He's qualified ahead of Paul Stump, with Gerhardus Jorgensen in third, Greg Garris is in fourth, Barry Hills in fifth, Mike McCormick sixth on the grid. Russ Addy could move forward from seventh. Bruce Poole, the only Canadian in the field here, is in eighth, with Peter Holstrom in ninth and Eugene Clark in 10th. Craig, being that Bruce Poole is a Canadian and we're in Canada, what driver do you think is his hero with that livery on?
Ooh, it's a Ferrari. It's going to be Gilles
No,
Villeneuve, surely.
For Bruce Poole.
Oh, Bruce Poole, sorry. I'll get my glasses on pretty quickly. You're the master of these retro liveries. I can't remember who that. The BMW livery, that's got to be Jack Villeneuve.
No. The Players Racing livery means he's either a bad guy and a fan of Paul Tracy, or a good guy and he really misses Greg Moore.
I think I need to get a new pair of glasses to make sure I'm checking which car it is. Yeah, he is looking to be a player up there today. Would love to make some moves up the order. So Bruce, what a day that would be if Bruce could just get a good result. He's on a bit of a part-time schedule this season, so maybe he will go up the order, and a good result here would probably punch him close to that top 10 overall in the championship, with 3 rounds left after this one. Could be looking at that, but also keep your eyes on Barry Hill. He needs to make a good run as well, because he's very far behind at the moment in P5. Would love to catch up to Paul Stump, play spoiler in that final 2 podium spots.
Also keep your eye on pit entry this race, expecting they may need to make a pit stop for fuel to see how that plays out across this 20-lap race distance. Pit entry is very challenging here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, because on the racing line you continue at full speed and blow past the final chicane. If you're racing in close proximity to someone else, it can be very disorientating for both parties, and that's the pit entry that the Porsche pace car is going to head to, and our rolling start will head through the final chicane and await a green flag at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 60-plus Racing Adventures is underway as Roberto Catalano puts down the power and takes them down towards turn 1. It's a good getaway from Gerhardus Jorgensen as well, sweeping around Paul Stump as they head into the first braking zone of the lap. But then there's a tiny bit of contact between Jorgensen and Stump, as Stump went wide around the outside of turn 1, dived for the apex of 2 and made a little bit of contact with Jorgensen. Barry Hills has snuck through up 2 positions. Russ Addy already up 3 as Garris continues in 5th place.
A little bit unfortunate there. In fact, Jorgensen has lost his wing after that moment out there, so it's going to be tough to get that car back. In fact, yeah, there's another spin there. No surprise if you don't have the downforce on the back of that car. That's so unfortunate. It was a great qualifying. It's just an unfortunate moment. There was a door open there. Maybe a little bit adventurous to go for that door, but it was there. In early days, with the cold tyres still warming up, you've got to feel that you've got to give that respect. But just one of those things on an opening lap. But it has allowed Roberto, look at the gap. In fact, you don't see Roberto. There he is. It's 2 seconds now to the good. over Paul Stump after literally half a lap.
Yeah, he's absolutely motoring away, and the slipstream at its most powerful here on the back straight. There's a look at that incident. I mean, it's very, very minimal contact, but it's right at the start there as Stump got caught out on the race start, and Jorgensen was looking to go ahead of him. Russ Addy snuck through, picked up a lot of positions. What I would have expected when I saw him qualified 7th is that maybe he should have been a bit higher up. Happens very often in this league, is that you see then Russ Addy picking off a couple of positions in the 111. So he's up into 4th, not that far behind Barry Hills, turning it a little early to these chicanes, but trying to stay off the walls.
I noticed that when he was turning into turn 1, he turned in a bit too early, which means he compromised his line through center at turn 2, and it just meant he understeered and couldn't get on the throttle when he wanted to, and that's the problem in these cars as well, because remember, you can't see the front. You're sat so low down in these open wheelers that you have to go by just the feel and look at where the tires are. It's just all a little bit rugged at the moment. And these mistakes from Addy allows Barry Hills to start making moves, and well, we just saw Garris looking at the last moment, and I think Addy may have just overheated those tires a little bit this lap, because all that early turning and just throttle modulation because of being a bit too wide. It looks like he's overheated those tires a bit because he doesn't have the grip that he would like to have. I know it's lap 2, but it just feels like that grip's just a little bit down at the moment for him.
He's driving looking forward, but also driving looking in his mirrors, so sandwiched with some pressure both directions, trying to figure out how close he can get to Barry Hills, but also just keeping an eye on what Garris is doing behind. Did just get a bit too much curb on the previous lap. Lost him just a little bit. Jorgensen in the pit lane after towing with the damage that he had is the only driver who's been to pit lane yet at this point. Garris now runs wide and gives a little clip of the wall, so they're struggling with some of the track limits here. First and second really finding their rhythm. 3rd, 4th and 5th here is the closest battle on track at the moment.
They all start to just bunch up a little bit, waiting for the opportunities to look for a move, but this is the track where you kind of have to wait for a mistake like that one up ahead. Barry Hills not getting that chicane at 8 and 9 all right, and he'll have to defend the inside on Addy. Does well, but he's gone in too deep there, I feel. But at the same time, Addy making a mistake at the same time, so they're just tripping over each other a little bit, and that allows Paul Stump to just start to pull away here. Remember that battle between Stump and Hills. I know Hills is mathematically the last man that can stop Catalano in the championship. But he would also like to make sure he gets hold of that P2. And right now, if it stays like this, I think Barry will be looking to overtake him for that P2 in the championship.
So these cars equipped with push to pass, everyone's starting the race with 65 seconds of push to pass, but in this battle here, surprisingly, they've used very, very little of that. 65 seconds still left for Barry Hills, Greg Garris and Mike McCormick. Russ Addy having used just 2 seconds. Roberto Catalano's been using it all up at the lead of the race, where he's been just trying to build out that gap beyond Paul Stump. These drivers have still got that all in their back pocket.
Usually on a track like this, you want to play a chess game with that push to pass. If you know that the person behind you's got push to pass, then you just want to either use it to defend or use it to make sure you don't get caught out here. And I think that's one of the things that's going to happen is, again, Hills with not a good run through 8 and 9. And to me, that's one of my favorite chicanes on this track, because it does open up. It does give you the ability to really get on the throttle early. You don't need to roll on the throttle. You can get on it quickly. And it just feels like Barry maybe not turning in enough. And here comes Addy going for that overtake. He knows this is important to make this move.
Big hit of push to pass there out of the hairpin from Barry Hills. Now needs to just stop it at the chicane. And that is a perfect use to just get clear when you're a little bit faster than a driver and you need that extra boost. So he's used it to get track position, but the other drivers will be having it available to them in larger quantities later in this race. 5 of 20, doing lap times just underneath 90 seconds. This is a 20-lap race, but it's time certain to 30 minutes. So they can't go much slower than 90 seconds and still get all 20 laps in. See what strategy ends up playing out across this. You see 65 seconds of push to pass still remaining for Mike McCormick here in 6th position as he's watched this battle. Addy, Hills and Garris. Suddenly, you know, one brings two, they say. Greg Garris now putting some pressure onto Barry Hills.
Yeah, Barry, with these mistakes that he's had through this chicane, become the cork in the champagne bottle a little bit. And not where he would like to be at the moment. Garris now looking to get that position back that he lost at the start of the race. Remember, he started in 4th, Hill started in 5th, and they hit a little bit of a switch early doors. Could find him back to where he started, but needs to look for the opportunity, and Hills is going to get the slipstream. So can't look for it here. Has to do that whole patient waiting game, and there is still 16 laps to go in this race, so no need to be that aggressive yet. But he realizes that if he doesn't stay on the back, he's going to be losing out as Hills looks to attack Addy, but that line always closes up on the outside. Russ will be able to defend that into turn 1 and 2.
Hills using a significant amount of his push to pass down the back straight and also on the front straight, but not allowing him to get back ahead of Russ Addy, but putting Greg Garris a tiny bit further behind him. So Addy's use of the push to pass got him positioned, and now he's able to hold it. Hills' use of the push to pass doesn't yield any fruit, and that's often the difference. So Garris still sits behind with Mike McCormick behind him, neither of them having used any of their push to pass. Roberto Catalano's gone through almost half of it as he tries to build a cushion that he can then manage for the rest of the race. Stump driving admirably with very consistent lap times in 2nd position. Still got Bruce Poole, Eugene Clark and Peter Holstrom continuing with no issues since the beginning of this race. And Gilles Jorrison, after a lengthy pit stop, is back out on track 1 lap down. Exiting the hairpin, the pressure appears to be back on Barry Hills. He's found his push to pass button. That's going to make things difficult for Greg Garris.
Yeah, I think Greg he's struggling to hold on now. Dirty air will be a factor through these chicanes, so that's why this casino straight is so important when you've got the aid of overtaking there, the artificial overtaking, as they would say in some open wheel series with this button to push to pass, and you've got to feel that. Yeah, you've got that to your advantage, but look at the dirty air. You're going to have to be fighting through in the understeer at it too. And look at it. Oh, just a wobble there. Nice little catch. But to catch it, he has to get off the throttle, slow himself down. That cost him about 3 tenths. And now he's thinking, I've got to catch back up. But he's losing that slipstream. And all of a sudden, now he'll get into the entry to these corners and have no dirty air. Straight into dirty air mid-corner. That's the last thing you want on a track like this.
Was Mike McCormick getting out of shape in the chicanes at turns 3 and 4? A little bit further back, but manages to avoid any damage, which is your worst case scenario here. Oh, but for Eugene Clark, there could be some. Gilles Jorrison gets his lap back there. No positions lost there for Clark. He's been around, all wheels still on the wagon. A bit too much. Apex curve lifts the inside rear and spins it up.
You can see why I don't like that corner. Do not like that chicane. And usually he's just proved why. It's just so tough to find the right place to get on the throttle, and then you feel you have to be early, and then you just make a mistake. Greg Garris into the pits. First driver to go into the pits, and I would have thought they would have tried to go at the halfway stage here, do 10 and 10 a little bit early. I wonder if Garris is looking for a little bit of an undercut here, being that they are just in this train of cars at the moment. I know it's a small train of 3 or 4 cars, but looks like he's trying to play the undercut game here while Hill, Addy continue on. That could be interesting in a few laps. We'll have to keep our eyes out there, but Garris gets clean air. These two still under the pressure of making sure they have to stay within inch perfect.
Well, Garris didn't think he was getting past Barry Hills on track, so then he's made a strategic decision The only worry is that he'll find a little bit of traffic in this middle stint of the race before the other drivers elect to pit. He's come out on track a little bit behind Peter Hallstrom and Eugene Clark. It could cost him some time if they don't stop soon and he has to pass them on track instead of passing Barry Hills on track, which would have been his plan if he had stayed out. 20 laps, 8 done at the end of this lap. So maybe still a couple more laps if they follow the Craig King strategy. I'm going to call it King's Call.
Well, the order in the court, I say, you must listen to me. It is definitely true that it is the right strategy, because it is the King strategy. I'm trying to get into receipt pronunciation there, and it's not working very well. It just feels that maybe the half and half, just keep that balance with the fuel as much as you can. Some drivers may try to stretch it out, maybe 11, 12 laps out there. You just don't know what their strategies are. You just got to feel that they know what they want to do, and they may also be dictated by what the car in front or behind do. But these two don't feel too threatened by Greg going in for an early pit stop. They decided last time not worth it, and now Russ is starting to apply the pressure by extending this gap, finding that extra gear that Barry doesn't have at the moment. And he's now starting to pull ahead here, and this is where Barry would have to be a little bit careful, because if he wanted to catch up, he'd be forced to use some of that push to pass, and I don't think he wants to use it for this situation.
These are two drivers that have used a fair bit of their push to pass. Russ Addy uses just a tiny bit more, exiting the hairpin, just 1 second, and then Barry Hills is going to use a lot more. So they're not afraid of using it. Neither is Roberto Catalano. Meanwhile, the rest of the drivers in the field, the other 7 of them, haven't used any push to pass at all yet. Addy using another second on corner exit. So he's just using 1 second here, 1 second there, whereas Barry Hills is giving it some more 5-second pushes here and there. Behind them, Mike McCormick's come into the pit lane. Russ Addy locks up a little bit, change direction into turn 1. But then, as long as you're still on the correct line in turn 2 and you drive well off of there, it doesn't seem like any problems for him. Peter Hallstrom also going to stop. For comparison's sake, Greg Garrison's stop was 11.5 seconds. This is not a car that changes tyres quickly like other Formula cars may do. So it's mainly fuel limited, typically. 13.7 seconds for Mike McCormick. Peter Hallstrom's pit stop still ongoing, as Greg Garris is back in for a second time. Did he not take it off? Oh.
No, he had a spin. He lost his front wing. He had a spin coming out of turn 2. And he just caught the rear. It was almost a little bit like what happened to Mike McCormick. I think we're going to see it right here. It was actually, no, it wasn't turn 2. It was in 5 and 6. Just going too much speed there, going into the corner, and then losing that front nose and just that little tap. Well, they are fragile, these wings. Remember, they are made of carbon fiber. Even in the sim carbon fiber, just as fragile. The leader comes into the pit. Will we see either of these two darts in? The answer is yes. Barry being a little bit respectful by slowing down early to make sure he didn't go too aggressive into the back of Addy's car there. But now they know, with Garris having to take another pit stop for repairs, this is really just going to feel like a 2-horse battle right now for this race between these two. As I've got to say, the King was right. Lap 10, that's when most of them's coming in.
Roberto Catalano's pit stop done at a nice round 10 seconds. Barry Hills, Russ Addy underway. Addy will be done first. Now he's pulling away. Followed shortly by Barry Hills. Bruce Poole's pit stop gets underway. Paul Stump and Eugene Clark are the two drivers we haven't seen on pit lane just yet.
I think they're going to be looking to go as long as they can. Poole now into the pits, and Garris at the back of the field will have to do some work. We'll keep eyes on that on the timing tower, but what a nice little pit stop that was for Russ Addy. Almost 2 seconds, faster in that line. He's able to really apply that there. He already had almost a second lead going down into the pits, and he's extended that to about 2.6, 2.7. Just what he needed is just keep that on now. And now pressure is on for Barry Hills, Eugene, was looking at Eugene because he's yet to pit, but pressure will be on. Paul Stump into the pits. Leader will retake the lead, one would think. And then we're back to parity of everybody at the front already setting their pit stops. And this is where it gets interesting because they would have heard that Gareth would have had a spin on this second stint that he was doing. You've got to be careful not to repeat the same fate that Gareth had.
Roberto Catalano comes through back into the lead of the race. Paul Stump's pit stop ongoing. He'll look to rejoin in second, but this has been a pretty quick phase from Russ Addy. Good in-lap, good flying laps, sharp pit stop. There is still a fair bit of time in between them. Everything that Russ Addy lost while battling and having that great battle, working his way up to the podium positions. It's Barry Hills 4th. Mike McCormick 5th, Bruce Poole 6th, and Eugene Clark is probably going to come out in 8th. Pretty close with Greg Garris, who had to make that second pit stop for some repairs, and Gerhardus Jorgensen, I think, has decided that he's seen enough of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for race 1 today. See how quickly Roberto Catalano can get back up to speed. Fastest lap of the race belongs to him at the moment. And he's 7 seconds ahead of Paul Stump. Stump did find the button from his push to pass. He's used just 10 seconds of it at this point, so he might have a burst of push to pass late on in this race. Fastest lap of the race could tumble in the final lap or two.
Fastest lap, always good for bragging rights, always good to make you feel just like you've got a chance there to really just make a little bit of a statement later on in the race. Kind of what you want to lead yourself into the next races going on out there. No pun intended when I say next races. As, by the way, Eugene Clark did get past Greg Garris. In fact, we're looking at them right now. As Garrett, I say get past, but say it in front of Garris. Garris will look to be the better driver, or the better driver when it comes out of the hairpin hit. But Clark, with those fresher tyres, might just be able to just pull a gap here, and Greg might be in trouble. I did remember he did use quite a bit of push to pass at the start of this battle when he was with Addy and Hills. What has he got left as he tries to catch up to Eugene Clark?
After 2 pit stops, Greg Garris is now trying to get back by Eugene Clark here. Finding it a little challenging to do at the moment. Turn 2 hairpin. He needs a difference of traction onto the back straight, and then he needs a pretty powerful slipstream if he can get it. Through here, again, you can follow closely, but will really struggle to pass. Sometimes, big swooping line from 5, dive to the apex of 6. He's very early on the brakes with that, just showing the nose, but not really getting alongside.
I like the idea of showing the nose. I don't know if I like the idea of showing the nose at 6 and turn 7 there, but just trying to apply some idea of, look, I'm here, get ready to look for me. Well, you're not going to see me if I run over the curb like that through 9. Have a little bit of an issue there, but still keeping close and still keeping tabs. Eugene's got a lot to handle here. We are in Canada, but we are in North America, so that red, white, and blue car that Clark is driving will still feel a little bit close to home, but not close enough. Garris is going to run down this line. It will be probably late braking into the chicane, but I think Eugene realized that and decided not worth fighting that. Yields that position. Garris, I don't think he's going to get 10 seconds in 8 laps, but never say never.
Push to pass used optimally from Greg Garris there to get himself back up into 8th. Got another 10 seconds up the road before he could find Peter Hallstrom. Entirely possible, given that Garris's best lap of the race is in the 27s. So he might be able to find a couple of seconds per lap here to close that down with the remaining 6 laps. Fastest driver on track, Roberto Catalano's last lap was a 1:27.2. He's stabilised his gap ahead of Paul Stump. Relatively, Stump loses a little bit of time so far on this lap. So making that initial breakaway of a couple of seconds has then allowed Catalano to managed this race in his style ever since. Next to closest on track, Russ Addy and Barry Hills for that third and fourth, with Hills getting just a tiny bit closer. There's a chance that Russ Addy, with the shortest pit stop of all, may need to save a tiny bit of fuel here, and that could allow Hills to get back a little bit closer.
This is actually an important part of the race as we come to the final quarter, because if he has had to use a little bit more fuel or not put enough fuel in, is he going to struggle? It's about half a second, I would have thought, but that could be the difference between a lap normally, depending on what the fuel flow is in these cars. But Barry really feeling good here. When these cars do get lighter, they do get a little bit more twitchier, and I wonder if, there's always the argument, did Barry put a bit too much fuel in to help him not have that twitchiness? You just don't know. But if he keeps Addy honest, he was almost half a second faster last lap. I think he's almost about 2/10 faster this lap. That could be important at the end of the next lap. And it's just the game. You play the margins on a track like this, and then you just start to apply that pressure. And all it takes is one mistake from Addy, and all of a sudden, you're looking at a P3.
Pot plants there in the braking zone for turn one. For some reason, plenty of things to look at around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You've got all of the things from the Olympics and the World Expo and the casino around here. And in summer, there's little lakes and beaches, and it's a man-made island designed to be a little bit of respite for Montreal in the middle of the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's closing just fractionally between Addy and Hills, third and fourth, and it comes down to who's got how much push to pass left. Well, Addy's got 17 seconds, Hills has got 22. Roberto Catalano's burning through his remaining at the moment, so he doesn't have too much. There are quite a few drivers that didn't use any in the first half of the race, that now after their pit stop, maybe they're looking at their fuel number and they've got more confidence to use that extra horsepower.
And now, especially with the cars getting lighter, might be able to help us. Hills, well, he matched last lap to Addy, but he had managed to find half a second this time, and I wonder if a lot of that is also just a little bit of that push to pass, and wouldn't surprise me if he is just trying to manage this right now. But if he uses it too much to catch up, we all know that catching up's easy. It's that final few tenths that's the hardest part of making the overtake, and wouldn't be surprised if that's not what he's planning. But the last time by, with a 28.6 for Addy, a 28.3 for Hills. So he's getting there, but I feel time is up the nigh. There's 4 to go, and if you put that into context, 3 attempts to 4, he's not going to make it in time. He needs to find a real good lap in this lap or the next lap, I feel.
Yeah, the 7-second difference of available push to pass in Barry Hill's favour. I don't know if that's quite enough to close the gap down. Addy is just using tiny little tactical bursts in the traction zones rather than long blasts down the straights. That seems to be working very well for his lap time. Barry Hills has got a little bit left if he needs it into these coming laps. Oh, but there's a mistake. Oh no, Addy slid in the hairpin. Barry Hills up into the podium positions and has all that push to pass available to defend it. Oh, the pressure has gotten to Russ Addy, and the battle for the podium is well and truly on.
It looked like he just turned in a bit too early and then kept the speed in, and had to just slow it all the way down when he went into that hairpin, and he just couldn't get there in the rear. He didn't lose the rear, but I think if he tried to keep the speed up, he would have lost that rear. And that was a very uncharacteristic mistake after everything that Russ has done this race. But what it's done now is put him as the chase, not the chaser. The other way around, sorry. And I just wonder now, look at it, different on the brakes as well. Barry being a little bit more defensive, and also just a difference there. We're just braking a bit too earlier, maybe a bit too harder. catching Rust out, and he's almost like he's playing the slow game here just to try and catch Rust out. Nowhere for him to overtake if he's going and slowing down into the het chicanes like this.
Very interesting. We're about to return to the scene of the crime. See if Russ Addy's still confident to break deep there into the chicane. He slid and wiggled a little into the hairpin. He slid and wiggled coming out of the chicane there. Means he's not quite as close behind Barry Hills as he might have liked. With just 5 seconds of push to pass left in a little over 2 laps. Russ Addy doesn't have that to help him make the moves so much here. Whereas Hills still has 18 seconds left. Roberto Catalano crosses the start-finish line to give us 2 more laps of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We'll get all 20 laps in within the 30-minute time limit. No worries here. At a dry and beautiful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Paul Stump still second place, but Barry Hills and Russ Addy for the final step of the podium have speed in different areas, have different things in their back pocket.
So you know, if you're Russ, you know that. Yeah, look at this. There's the mistake from Russ. He knows he's got the speed, but he's not able to uncork the speed when he's through these chicanes. And just watch right now as he just carries a bit more speed through the chicane. Barry now is going to lose a couple tenths there. And just goes to show the speed differences, the different lines they're taking through these corners. Barry's almost on a survival line at the moment. He realizes that he needs to try and just not only just hold this position, but maybe also, have I burned a bit too much fuel? I don't think so. And he was 1.5 seconds longer in the pit box than Russ Addy. Russ would be the one struggling with fuel as they'll come down to the hairpin for the penultimate time. This is for the final spot on the podium, and Russ needs to find a good way through, but he knows that if Barry is a little bit slower onto the brakes, I wonder if he'll just try and do a little bit of a lunge through one of these chicanes coming up in a minute.
Roberto Catalano, the championship leader, begins the final lap of the race. He has a lead of now 15 seconds. Paul Stump in second place is 9 seconds ahead of this group. Barry Hills and Russ Addy. Hills and Addy have both saved a lot of their push to pass for this final lap. So since that move about 2 laps ago, neither of them have used their push to pass. Hills is being very consistent and smooth. Russ Addy is able to gain a little bit of time in the braking zones, which might matter Daniel Ricciardo style if he's got to make a move on this final lap. But he needs strength in other areas as well, including traction out of the corners. He doesn't get quite as smoothly from turn 7. Turn 8 here, we've seen drivers get way too much of that second bulbous white curb. Desperation at the hairpin is not going to be enough, and if you've got fuel, surely you burn all of your push to pass right now. They will. Roberto Catalano has used up all of his on his way to another victory this season in Indy Next 60 Plus. What a race from him, absolute perfection. Paul Stump heading for second, and Barry Hills and Russ Addy both burning their push to pass. Hills had more to help him hold on to that third place. Russ Addy will be ruining his mistake, but still gains many positions across the race from 7th on the grid to finish 4th. Holstrom and McCormick next to the line. Bruce Poole, Greg Garrison, Eugene Clark back on the lead lap. Gerhardus Jorrisson's a retirement. Oh, spin on the final lap there.
Yeah, Peter Holstrom was actually under attack from Garrus. Remember I said that it would be a tall order to try and catch up to the back of Holstrom. He was not having a good final few laps there, and he has got a bit of wing damage on the back of that car and came in to 8 and 9. Took too much speed, went over the curve at 8, and just lost the rear of the car and spun it round and hit the rear of the barrier. That allowed Garrus to make that move back. I think the pressure got to Holstrom there. He'll come across the line in 9th, however. But yeah, he had a chance to get a good P7 there if he just held off Garrus. But the pressure, unfortunately, got to him.
This is the finishing result of race 1 from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 20 laps. And Roberto Catalano led all of them except for those at the pit stops. Paul Stump went a little bit longer. Roberto Catalano is the winner. Stump in second and Barry Hills 5th on the grid up to a podium. Russ Addy from 7th up to 4th. Mike McCormick finishes 5th with Bruce Poole in 6th. Greg Garris in 7th. Eugene Clark 8th. A slow last lap from Peter Holstrom, losing about 15 seconds, and that cost him 2 positions in the end. Gilles Jorrison might well be looking forward to race 2 to get a good finish in after his race ended at turn 2 on lap 1. Our drivers love to come chat with us, and we love to come chat with them. Here is the championship leader and the race winner, Roberto Catalano.
Hi guys.
Well, that was a very good race for you with pole position, with the win. And this is one of the races with a pit stop. You pitted just a little bit earlier than Paul Stump.
Yes, I pitted 1 lap before because I have a lot of margin, and I think that it's a good race. My only drive is to don't do a mistake. It's a track difficult with many chicane, and every chicane is a trap for the driver. But I was lucky and I won.
Do you have a favorite French food?
Favorite French food? It's difficult. I love Italian food, but Emmental, I think. Emmental.
That's a good review. Well, another race to come, and surely you're going to look for another win. You've been incredibly strong this season. What do you put it down to?
Yes, there isn't Greg and John that are driver best of me, and I take the win for this. I am up for the next race. Thank you.
Grazie, Roberto. We'll see you for race 2, and well done on the win.
Grazie. Goodbye.
And third place finisher Barry Hills is going to speak to Craig.
Yeah, Barry Hills here, who came home in third. And Barry, that looked a very tough first half of the race between you and Russ, and of course Eugene, who unfortunately Garris, Garris, who had that moment earlier on. You were under pressure for quite a lot of that first stint.
Yes, I certainly was. Yeah, Russ is good at putting on the pressure, and I eventually cracked, and yeah, he slipped past me, but I managed to sort of stick with him, and then he made that little error on the hairpin towards the end of the race, and I just managed to get by. But yeah, good race. But yeah, it's a very tricky track.
It is a tricky track. We've seen drivers struggle. Russ made that mistake, as you know. Greg had that little, Eugene had that little unfortunate moment as well. What is it for you that makes this track really tough? Is it just the raised curves on the chicane, or is it just a case of trying to keep the speed up through the corners?
Well, yeah, you've got to keep the speed up through the corners, but there's so many tricky corners that, yeah, you get your braking slightly wrong, and you know, you're so close to the wall in so many places, and there's some adverse camber in places. It's just a really tricky track. And that hairpin bit that you're going downhill very slightly into that, so it's very easy to lock up a wheel going into that hairpin. Yeah, not an easy one at all, this.
Well, not an easy one. You've got a podium out the first race, and we've got a second race coming up. Would you prefer it to be this challenging with 2 cars around you? Or would you like a nice quiet drive for your next race?
Well, it'd be nice to have a quiet one, but it's good fun. It's good to have a close race. That's what we're here for, really. So yeah, let's have a tight one. And it's a pity, unfortunate for Gerhardus in that first corner. I don't know quite what happened, but you know, he went out, and I think Greg more or less straight away. So I was gifted a few places from the word go, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Take what you can get. Congratulations on the podium. We'll let you get yourself ready for the next time up. And,
thank you, Craig.
Go well for the next one.
Cheers.
Barry Hills there, David, coming home in P3 for the first race. I almost said the third race. We've only got 2 races tonight. What am I saying?
No idea, Craig. No idea. But that is race 1 done from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Another one to come here on RaceSpotTV. Stick with us because we'll have another qualifying session and another race. Can Roberto Catalano go back to back? Can someone else take the win at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve? 360 plus racing adventures is back for race 2 at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This is the Indy Next Championship. Race 1 was won by Roberto Catalano, but it is a clean slate for race 2. A brand new qualifying session into a brand new race. The drivers are going to be absolutely perfect once again. And it's a number of drivers looking for redemption. To bring you live coverage here on RaceSpotTV, I'm David Haynes, and alongside me is Craig King. And new on the grid, Roger Jansen is going to join us for race 2.
It'll be interesting to see what Roger will do out there in this field. Couldn't make the first race. Try his best in the second race, but we're seeing the back of Paul Stump as he gets himself ready. Like a good result after last time out in that Martini-esque livery. I know it's Martini-esque, but you know it's you never see in a Martini livery on this car, but we get an idea through the power of sim racing. You get a wonderful idea. If you've not seen Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where have you been all this time? The rundown, love this curved rundown into turn 1 and turn 2 into the center S, as they say. And this is the corner that a lot of drivers have been caught out with, David, getting on the throttle a bit too much. I was quite surprised to see that so often in that last race. A lot of drivers getting caught out there.
Deceptive little challenges of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, braking in the shadows, variation of curbs, some that you can climb over, some that you absolutely shouldn't hit, and then the walls and Armco always ever so close. This is right on board with Paul Stump. He's looking to mind those big white curbs that kind of set the limits through that chicane, and then focusing down towards the hairpin. Second in race 1. It's actually still a pretty good result for Paul Stump. He managed to drive away from the whole rest of the field, so his podium position was never really in doubt as they battled and scuffled and lost time behind him. So not a good qualifying position, and he could repeat that.
Would be good for his championship standings, battling for those last podium spots in the championship. Three rounds to go after this one as well. Like to try and get a good time, a good result out here, and if it was quiet the first time, will it be quiet the second time? You never know. 1:26.426 is the first lap time there for Paul Stump. Some of the other drivers yet to set their times. This man just set his though. 1:26.172 with Roberto Catalano. Will go around one more time, and here's the man that was unfortunate at the start of the last race. What can Jurison do? Would love to avoid getting caught up in a lap 1 incident this time round.
Absolutely, it was incredibly costly, and he ended up having been a lap down, didn't finish the race. So third right now, but it's always on that second flying lap of qualifying that they all look to go faster. Mike McCormick won't. He's picked himself up a slowdown. I think he's cut one of those chicanes. Everything looks within limits for Jorison at the moment, as he just tries to gently unwind the hands, as he tries to gently wind on the throttle on all of these corner exits. Oh, that's in a tiny bit hot, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, that's a little bit hot. I was just looking. I think Barry Hills as well may have had an off track at the same time as Mike McCormick, so he won't be able to improve on his lap time. But that's the thing. You just try to attack those corners a bit too much, carry too much speed into 8, and when you run that inside curb, you ride that curb, and the last thing you want in a car with aero packages and open wheels like this is to run over curbs. You lose that downforce that you so need to get onto the throttle. So we'd like to get a good result in qualifying. Real nice move. I say that, just attacked too much of that curb through 14. Nick Jurison will have to concede. This probably won't be a good lap. It's just faster. It's not enough to improve. In fact, he was oh so close to Gilles. Just those small mistakes just cost him for a chance for P3 in qualifying.
There's the rowing basin that hosted the Olympics in 1976. I've been to where the rowing was for the Melbourne Olympics 1956, a little bit before my time though, Lake Wendouree and Ballarat. Roberto Catalano has laid down another gauntlet, but it seems like his second lap wasn't quicker than his first. The benchmark is 1:26.1. Paul Stump not too far away from that, but still not quite shoulder to shoulder with Catalano's speed. And then it's super close between Greg Garris and Gerhardus Jorgensen, a matter of hundredths of a second. And similarly, just about a tenth between Barry Hills and Mike McCormick, 5th and 6th. Pete Hallström in 7th is ahead of his fellow Swede Roger Janssen at the moment. As Catalano just rolling down the pit lane. This is actually the NASCAR configuration of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve pit lane. We've had to add a couple more pit stalls for all them stock cars, included laying down some concrete blocks in what's ordinarily the pit exit for Formula One.
Quick look at his pole lap once again. Yeah, interesting. His second lap wasn't faster, but it would have been enough for pole still again. And just look how nicely he finds the right line through the curves there at turn, or the exit there into 4. And then this corner. Always hate it. A little bit uphill. Where do you find the throttle? Just having to modulate the throttle there with the steering. And then down into the tricky 8 and 9. This is another place that we saw drivers getting caught out here, trying to carry too much speed here, and not having to worry with this does Roberto. He'll come down the hill, and then it's all here. The bravery to the hairpin. Where do you brake? Where do you find the line? I do love that you've always got this excess runoff here to get onto the throttle. And then the thing that we never got to really see in the race, David, he was taking the chicane in 3rd gear. Again, I'm not sure how many drivers was taking this in 3rd gear.
Just practicing the chicane. Practicing your pit entry, never a bad idea in the pit stop races either. So some drivers are a little more cautious than others. This is one of the pit lanes you really can attack the entry, like here in Okayama, but there are some other tracks where you really can't. Sandown, the Bend. Am I just going to name Australian tracks all the way through here? That's my moral. Be cautious of the pit entries there and at Oran Park. Everyone is off track at the end of qualifying, so no one's going to top Roberto Catalano. We'll stump with a second place start again, and Greg Garris as 3rd. What gives some variability to the upcoming race is the presence of 65 seconds of push to pass and a required pit stop for everyone. So they've got to maximize and strategize around both of those facets in the 20-lap race coming up.
And in the first race, we saw drivers being a little bit too aggressive early doors with that push to pass. And then we just saw them just calm down when they got themselves into a rhythm. Pit stops was roughly, the earliest was about lap 8, lap 9. The latest was about lap 12. So that sweet spot will be a 10-10 there, which we saw most of the drivers go. And if you've got people battling, you may see someone try to be a little bit careful with that undercut. But when these cars get light on fuel, the rear does want to do some dancing. And there's no golf course around here on this island, so you don't really want to go on for a dance there, because it won't be a birdie you'll be looking for. You'll be down in the sand traps looking at a bogey, and let's hope we don't have that again. And let's hope we don't have a lap 1 incident. I really want to see the pace of the 966 there after we didn't get to really see it on the first race.
So this is how the grid will be set for race number 2. Roberto Catalano, the championship leader with the win already under his belt today, on pole position once again. We'll stump in 2nd place. Greg Garris there in 3rd with teammates Gerhardus Jorgensen and Barry Hills 4th and 5th. Jorgensen's looking for a clean race too. He's the biggest driver to keep an eye on. And Mike McCormick is 6th on the grid. Peter Hallström is 7th, and the incredibly Swedish and patriotic Roger Janssen is 8th on the grid. It will be a rolling start for the Dallara IL-15 race cars. They're behind the Porsche pace car right now. The GT3 Cup without a wing, and it very much reminds me of the 991.2 Carrera T that I saw at the shops the other day.
Oh yeah, no, that's you know what? It's rare to see a Ferrari. The Ferrari. Sorry, I'm looking at this livery here from Roberto. It's rare to see a Porsche without a rear wing, but they do exist. We do have it here on iRacing, the Porsche iRacing safety car. One of these days they'll give us this to drive. You know how, like in Gran Turismo, you could unlock the safety cars to drive around. Hey, maybe one day we don't need someone to make a paint like this. We can just get this to drive, just for a bit of fun in a hosted session. We never know. We live to dream.
We're going to get multi-class pace cars first, though, so I'll keep my priorities in order there. And once they've got that, let us drive the pace car.
How about a different pace car in the multi-class start? So one's a Porsche, one's a sedan. You get the idea. A man can dream. Let's just get the multi-class start. I've seen them. They look fantastic, but we're on single-class start today with these cars and these drivers. Again, like I said, that run down to turn 1 was a little bit dangerous first time by. Got to address the situation that may happen again when they come down there next time by for this race. But knock on wood, do your fingers crossed, say what you got to say. Hopefully it's a nice clean start to the second race tonight.
So 65 seconds of push to pass is loaded for everyone. When that becomes active, you'll expect to see Roberto Catalano using it to try to break away from the field. Others will be using it to try to make passes and gain positions. And then we've got to think about when they take their pit stop, typically in the middle 5 or so laps of the race. And a bit over 10 seconds of fuel seems to be what was required. It's all the same setup for race number 2 again, 20 laps ahead of them. Roberto Catalano wasted no time getting going in race 1. Is he going to mix it up or do the same again for race 2? Coming out of the chicane, he waits just a fraction longer, but then we're underway to begin 60-plus racing adventures. Indy next from Montreal. Catalano heading down towards turn 1. Everyone else on cold tyres relatively circumspect, trying to work their way cleanly in turns 1 and 2 this time. Tiny lock up there from McCormick as he pushes Barry Hills wide and makes the first overtake of the race. Catalano away cleanly. Paul Stump likewise. Greg Garris sitting in 3rd place. Swedish chefs cooking up the back in 7th and 8th. It's McCormick who's made a move.
Yeah, early doors there. McCormick almost locked up there, and I thought we were also going to see another incident out there early days, but we were able to keep it clean. Barry aware of what was going on. Now he's just going to have to roll with the punches, roll with the chicanes that is around here. Just see if he needs to be a little bit aggressive with that push to pass early doors, or will he be happy enough just to wait? And maybe he'll be happy, just run with the same pace that McCormick's got. Just stay with this train, because the train now has extended Roberto at the front. Catalano, look at that gap right there. Got ahead there. The Stump want to try and be a little bit pushy with that push to pass. Try and catch up. He's pretty much happy at the moment, and this is a big difference from last time, because at this stage of the race, Catalano was already gone. Stump's managed to hold with him this time by. But how long can he keep that pressure up? It's just in the background. So Hills have a moment. Jurison survives the first lap. That's big, because I think he's going to be a little bit relieved after what happened in that first lap race.
Push to pass comes active now at this stage. Roger Jansen will be activating his pit lane speed limiter. Perhaps a little too early to fuel and get to the end, but it might be possible in a fixed setup race. So we'll see exactly what Roger Jansen does. Aware of a whole lot of damage in 10 seconds, so maybe just wants to have half of the track all to himself. Catalano hasn't broken that slipstream that's pretty powerful in these cars and pretty powerful at this track. So he's just got to manage that at the moment, but he's the first driver to use push to pass because that's what he's trying to do, get a second away from Paul Stump, so he's not towing the podium around. Stump and Garris obviously going to try to prevent that.
I think Janssen may have needed a little bit more fuel on board, hence that pit stop may have put the wrong setting. But for Stump, he's got the right step. He was doing so well, and then he just ran a bit too wide through 8 and 9. Ran over the curb, had to slow it down a bit, but credit where credit's due. He's holding on right here to Catalano in this train. Still in that slipstream, but he is towing everybody else around him. At this stage of the race, you're thinking, well, Stump would love to get away from everybody so we can catch up to Catalano or just solidify that P2. Well, neither of those at the front are able to at the moment. And look at Garris. Garris with the fastest lap early doors as we're on board with Jurison. He's looking to try and catch back. Top 3 all doing the exact same time, give or take about a few hundredths. Jurison only 2 tenths off them, but still in this slipstream. And now comes the game. How aggressive do you want to be on the push to pass? Catalano already on that push to pass. It looks like he's managed to pull ahead. Full Stump.
Bit sideways there from Paul Stump, pushing hard through the chicane, trying to keep ahead of Garris and Jorison. Gormick having made one move, not finding much more progress just yet. Just ahead of Barry Hills, 3rd place in race 1 he was, and on the podium. Catalano now 1.7 seconds clear, still using his push to pass every time on the casino straight. Just trying to break away from the field and doing it successfully again in race number 2. Stump, Garris, Jorison through the final chicane. That wall, that tyre barrier just sticks out a little bit to try to meet you, and you don't want to accept that invitation.
Last thing you want to do on a street circuit is hit the barriers, and that's what we are at the moment. And I think this is where the pressure is going to now start playing for Garris with Jurison right behind. It's interesting to see Catalano using that push to pass at every opportunity to start to pull a gap, and that's what he's done. Stump's going to be looking at the same thing, but Jurison would love to try and attack right now and just look for the opportunity. But that's a little bit of a slide through both of them. One took it too early, one took it too late in terms of turning in there 2-6 to get into turn 7 as they go over the hill. Jurison looking to really now he's got everything very comfortable out there. Look to attack. Saw some tyres on the tyre marks on the cross there. Didn't catch anybody going off the track early doors. Might have been Hallstrom or something. I didn't see anyone go off, but these drivers don't need to worry about that. Will Jurison hit that push to pass this time by? At the moment, he hasn't.
No, he's just waiting. Barry Hills is going to use some just behind Mike McCormick. So those two, having exchanged places on the opening lap, could still do battle through the rest of the race. This is where that slipstream becomes so strong. These cars are doing in excess of 270 kilometers an hour on the back straight there. Faster than GT3 cars, and these are meant to be the feeder series to IndyCar. These are meant to be junior open wheelers, but they are super quick. And they've got push to pass to unlock a little bit of extra boost. They've got turbocharged engines and plenty of power to go with it. So that kind of speed generates a really powerful slipstream, and it's why Roberto Catalano wanted to get away from the field as early as he could and leave them all to fight, tussle and tangle behind him. As they shall, Paul Stump in 2nd, Garris in 3rd. Watching eye on his mirrors, but that's a big problem. And that's a massive slide. How much damage done? Did he keep it off the walls? Gerhardus Jorison drops behind Mike McCormick and drops behind his teammate Barry Hills. Pushed too hard trying to catch up with Greg Garris.
Yeah, he tried to take too much speed through that 6 and 7 chicane. And was just trying to just feather the throttle a bit to get there, but the rear went. He was lucky. Just caught the slide, but he lit up those tyres so much that he decided, I didn't have the momentum. Mike, Barry, go by. You're in your own little battle right now. I'll catch back up. Here it is again. Look at him just carry the speed. And it looks like he just put a bit too much steering and throttle at the same time. You don't really want to be doing that. You test the limits of the mechanical grip that the car has through those slower corners. And that is not what he wanted to do. He's a lucky boy, though. Then he managed to keep that car out of the barriers. And he's got it all to do, especially if the two in front have a moment together. And he has to slam on the brakes into car park here as McCormick and Hills came together.
Barry Hills was on the push to pass, and from a little bit far back, he makes a lunge down the inside of turn 1, contact with McCormick, creates a car park that blocks his own teammate. Like McCormick sneaks through for a couple of positions before Holstrom decides, actually, I don't want to be ahead of Barry Hills. Gee, I wonder what he's seen to learn that lesson. And yeah, a little ambitious into turn 1. Versus McCormick there.
Yeah, that's the problem though. You know that you have to make the move and through to turn 1, but in all due fairness, McCormick did put a defensive line there. And while there was a little bit of an opening there, it was more of a dog flap than a door that was open. Tried to go through to the gap, but the overlap was not there. And McCormick at some point has to turn in. They did come together. That's unfortunate. I don't know what damage is on either car, but I don't think any of them will be very happy with that. But they're also now going to be looking at a battle in P4 because Jurison has had a slowdown, but these are the 3 at the front of the field. I think they know now that it's going to be those 3 at the front of the field. It's a whopping 12 seconds between P3 and P4, and straight away was that McCormick going into the pits. It was. Now, is that for fuel, or is that also to get some damage repaired? Don't see any damage on the car. It looks like he's going to try and do a very early undercut.
Could be a little bit of a both. Here's all those extra pit stalls in the pit exit section of the lane. About 10 seconds is how long we saw the pit stops be in race 1. It's looking similar in race 2. Cormac going a little over that. Not massively, but just a bit. So that'll put him in mostly clean air until everyone else makes their pit stops. We'll see how it shakes out from that point. So it's Catalano, Stump, Garris, Jorison, Hills, and Holstrom yet to make their pit stops. But a big difference in how much push to pass they've used. Roberto Catalano has used 40 of 65 seconds, while Stump and Garris in second and third haven't used any just yet. Jorison with a tiny tickle of it, and Barry Hills was also burning through it, trying to get back past Mike McCormick. And we saw how that ended. Hallstrom and McCormick, none used. Well, Roger Jansen has used just a little.
You can see why they call it artificial overtaking with that push to pass, and just got the overspeed. And that's the tunnel vision that all drivers, myself included, get when you've got that overspeed. You think that you got a chance to really look for a move there, really see the opportunity, but there's nothing there for you sometimes, and I think that's what caught him out. Hallstrom will come into the pits as well. So now 6, 7, and 8 have come into the pit, but I think Roger Jansen will have to come in again. He pitted very early doors. Don't think he'll be able to go all the way on that 1 tank of fuel and 19 laps, but stranger things have happened. But Catalano, what a lot of time used up there for the push to pass, and I think a lot of that was just a little bit of worry. He wanted to get that gap on Stump, and he had to work to get that gap on Stump, and Stump barely used any push to pass. And I think that may have just hindered Catalano there a little bit, as these two did come out. Hallstrom almost coming alongside McCormick when they came out the pits. You talked about the pit entry, David. The pit exit here, very treacherous for drivers.
Well, it holds them around the outside of the turn 2 hairpin. So it is a little narrow and turning, but it's off the racing line, which is different to the pit entry, where the drivers who are committed and not braking and the drivers who are taking the racetrack and are braking overlap in that way. Top 5 haven't stopped, but still a little short of the halfway mark. 20 laps of the just over 4 kilometre circuit, giving us almost 100 Ks of racing. across both races.
I'll tell you what, it's a lovely track to lap and just race at full stop. And this is one of those tracks that some drivers, they do like to come here, but they also worry about coming here because they wonder who's gonna be here. Usually when you see this track in an official, hello there, that's a little bit of a lock up there from McCormick going through the corners, and I wonder if just struggling with those tire temps out there. But no, this is the track people love to drive because it is a challenge. It's it's quote unquote one of the oldest street circuits on iRacing. It's been around for quite a while. It's not as old as Detroit Belle Isle, I think. I want to say Detroit's a bit longer, but this is one of those tracks that drivers love, and you can see with the mistakes that some of the drivers have had today, it's a challenge out there. Just the adverse cambers, the sausage curves, the anti-cuts, as they would say nowadays, keeping the momentum, the wall of champions, every other wall. It gives you something to really sink your teeth into, and you have to be fully focused on a track like this because until you come here, the walls are alongside you. You come here to the hairpin, you finally get a little bit of opening, then you get out the hairpin, and you're back to just nothing but walls alongside you.
Track was, I guess, a little bit the model for a lot of those other parkland circuits that followed, like Albert Park and others, and like the spate of street circuit, not a street circuit, custom designed, technically a street circuit that we get from Saudi Arabia, Madrid coming up, the Jeddah Corniche circuit. So a few have kind of looked at what circuit Gilles Villeneuve has got and tried to engineer their way to that solution. It's so popular, it creates such a great atmosphere, and it's created not always great racing, but memorable races, which is perhaps a different thing. But certainly so much history here, and the start-finish line there engraved and written on the track. Salute Gilles, because he was their hero for all the Canadian racing fans here, and a family of so much racing history around here as well. Barry Hills comes into the pit lane, so he didn't really seem to be suffering any damage, but if there was any, he'll get it fixed at this opportunity. And we'll see where he comes out relative to Mike McCormick, who's using a little bit of push to pass at the moment, picking up some speed. Barry Hills' pit stop begins, and it is fuel only at these stops for the Indy Next car. Changing all four tyres takes way too long. They're not designed for it to happen during a race. There's McCormick in the background. Here is that pit exit that Craig was talking about.
Yeah, got it clean, got it out there, got that gap to McCormick, really driven the car out there. Now just has to keep this nice and calm to get this P5 and just running close to the barriers. You talk about Villeneuve, I mean, we all remember, well, Jack Villeneuve, he drove an Xfinity, a NASCAR Xfinity car down here as our leaders into the pits, as Patrick Stump would join him. I wonder if Garris would join him as well. They do indeed. I don't know if you remember that, David. It was an Xfinity race around here. It was in the rain. It was the first wet race for any form of NASCAR road racing. All the fans came out to watch one person. And when Jack Villeneuve crashed, everybody left the stands. There was only one person they came for. They weren't here for the racing. And I think that just goes to show what you were saying. This is the track of memories more than the racing. And how many times can you really count a good race around here? I can only really count great moments, you know. And what was the latest one I can think of? Vettel with the board. So we won't be seeing any drivers with boards out there today.
And braking for the Seagulls or whatever it was. Yeah, so many memorable moments. Not necessarily always great racing. How about Daniel Ricciardo's first win in Formula One? Or forever in my heart. Roberto Catalano leads the race after everyone's made their pit stops. Again, pretty similar and standard stop times between sort of 10 to 11 seconds. Catalano's back out with a 6-second race lead. Paul Stump, it's tracking for back-to-back second places. And to mix up the third step of the podium at the moment, it's Greg Garris with a comfortable margin over Gerhardus Jorrison, Barry Hills, and Mike McCormick after their turn 2 car park shenanigans certainly cost them a lot of time. That gives Garris a little bit of safety margin here in 10th. Big Sonny Hayes fan.
I'm afraid I've never watched the film. I must be brutally honest, but you can see that they do love this. It's great what that film's done, and look at it, especially with these now mock-up liveries as well. And that's one thing you see on iRacing. I mentioned earlier is you can dream it. It's a sim race. It's sim racing. You could do it. You can put anything on these cars, and you know the Indy Next doesn't really have any iconic liveries just due to the fact that it is a feeder series. That's no knock at them. The drivers still love to put their own twist on liveries onto these cars. We've seen the Martini, we've seen this livery inspired by the F1 movie, we've seen a Ferrari livery as well, Catalano as well, and other liveries, and that's what you get to see in these cars. What you get to see, drivers just get to run tributes. This almost, I feel like the open wheelers, it's almost like the NASCAR version of tributes. If you've got a driver that you're a fan of, you run their livery in the oval world. If you've got a driver you're a fan of here in the open wheelers, you can easily get one of their liveries and get it stuck onto your car. Not stuck literally, but painted onto your car just to show your respect. And that's what I like sometimes with the open wheelers.
So we'll see what pace everyone gets up to after their pit stops, because at the moment it deceptively says Barry Hills in 5th was the fastest driver on track last lap. Well, that's because everyone in the top 4 all pitted together, so they'll then get back up into speed. Push to pass update. Roberto Catalano's got 21 seconds left. Paul Stump's got 46. Greg Garris we're seeing here in 3rd place. All 65 of his seconds are still left. If he burned them all, he might not catch Paul Stump. If he doesn't use them, he's probably not going to get caught by Gerhardus Jorrison. We've seen this happen before in this car, in this series. Drivers go, I'm just more likely to make a mistake and have to adjust my braking zones and everything. If I use the push to pass, I'm better off just staying consistent. That might be what Garris is angling for, at least at the moment. Gerhardus Jorrison with 55 seconds left. Barry Hills was very eager to use his early in the race and only has 25 left. It's 37 left for Mike McCormick. Holstrom with 65 and Roger Jansen with 44. Closest cars on track are Jorrison in 4th and Barry Hills in 5th, but Jorrison was slightly quicker last lap. That gap wasn't necessarily on trend to close.
No, but again, you look at it, just one mistake, just using that push to pass a little bit too ambitious, or just having a small lockup. They would have been used to this track now, used to this car, used to everything, and just keeping that rhythm right now. And you just wonder, how are they going to be able to? You also wonder what could have happened to this man. And what an unfortunate night it's been for Jorrison. He got crashed out the first race, and then he would have had a good race out here. Had to catch a save early doors, then get caught in that car park with Hills and McCormick. And that put him 13 seconds behind Garrison. You look at the pace. Well, similar pace. Could have been an interesting battle between the two of them, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But again, you make a mistake, only 3 seconds, and it's the same with Stump and Garris. If Stump made a mistake, well, he's got 5 seconds to try and save it, and Garris could easily catch back up there, as there is Stump. So these are big gaps, but they're also gaps where you can't afford a mistake, because one mistake around here will set you back a lot of time. And I think that's one of the reasons why Roberto in the front of the field was really looking early on to get ahead, and he's burned a lot of that push to pass up early just to command a lead in this race, and it's worked. Stump could not hold on to him, and now as the pace starts to really show in the clear air, he's still about half a second slower on pace last lap compared to Catalano.
Who's your favourite Swiss racing driver? Paul Stump, Neil Jarni, or Sebastian Vettel?
Oh, you threw me a curveball there with Sebastian Vettel. I was going to be Sebastian Buemi. I was going to say Wemmy being actually walked past him at Le Mans in the pit lane one time, but yeah, I think at the moment I'm going to have to give it to Stump. He's the only Swiss driver out there at the moment. And you think about it, they don't do racing in Switzerland very much, but they do have quite a history of drivers in the world, and it's one of those countries you never expect, but you're surprised, David, when you think about it, just how many drivers have come from Switzerland.
Oh, I think they've just got a very good car control, very good balance, because it's never oversteer or understeer. They're always neutral.
Bravo. I was thinking, I know me and Jake Sperry having a talk about it a couple months ago about the nation with the most real world drivers and sim drivers per capita. We never thought about Switzerland, but you know, you think about how many drivers they've got. It wouldn't be up there due to the size. We worked
GDP per capita is one of the key indicators for that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, no, we were doing it by sim drivers and real world drivers, and I can't remember what we came to. I think we actually came to New Zealand at the end of the day, or maybe Monaco. I can't remember, but yeah, Switzerland will be up there. Catalano, don't need to worry about that. He's one of many, but one thing is for sure, he's out there at the front of the field. And again, when you think about it, he could have had the perfect season. He could have had all points if not for Greg Seltz at Road America round 1, who took home 2 victories. Otherwise, it would have been perfect 49 points every race for Roberto, but he only got 40 for the first round. He's 9 points shy of the perfect season. And if he keeps on to this, knock on wood, he's only got a 10-second lead. If he keeps to this with 4 to go, it'll be another full point in the bank for him, and that semi-perfect season is on.
Yep. Been another great round for Roberto Catalano. He's approaching this race 2 very similar to how he approached race 1. Use the push to pass to try to break the gap, run long and pit relatively late, and then just use a little bit of the remaining push to pass across the final couple of laps to keep the pace up. Stump we saw in second, just maintaining about a 4-second advantage, 4.5 second advantage over Greg Garris. We ride on board from his roll hoop. It is a roll hoop, but not an air intake on the Dallara IL-15. Jorrison in 4th, still pulling away from Hills in 5th. Everyone circulating and on the lead lap at this moment. And there's that big 65 number for Greg Garris, 65 seconds of push to pass still remaining. That's how much he started the race with. There was a time in past where I think they used to have something outrageous like 150 seconds of push to pass, and it was, you could use multiple seconds of it every single lap, and kind of defeated the purpose. It's meant to be a strategic element, and therefore it needs to be a little bit of a tougher decision whether you use it and when you use it.
I think they should give you bonus points or just bonus time added to your time if you actually finish a race without using a push to pass. Actually impressive to be P3. Could use it to try and close the door here and close up to try and make it. But as you were saying earlier, if you use that push to pass, a bit too much speed, if you're so used to how you've been taking these corners, taking the braking zones, knowing when to hit the speed, then you don't need to worry too much about that push to pass unless you really have to go aggressive, and he hasn't had to. In all due fairness for Greg, looking pretty good. Jorrison, as you see with the push to pass, he'd had to get a bit aggressive because last lap, I had to just have a look back, he had a lockup and had to come to an almost complete stop at the hairpin, and that's brought Barry Hill back into contention in that battle for P4. But as they come to pace, Jorrison using his push to pass to get ahead. Don't know if he knows that Barry's only got 16 seconds left, but might be a bit too late in this battle to try and catch up now for Barry. He needs another mistake from Jorrison if he got a shot here for P4.
Bizarro world we're living in, just as we're talking about Greg Garris. He goes and uses his push to pass on the casino straight. So he found that button, but yeah, a mistake from Jorrison puts him a little bit closer to Barry Hills on a lap where neither of them make a mistake. Jorgensen does seem to have slightly more speed, but the advantage that he had evaporated significantly on the previous lap, as he went from doing minute 29s to minute 31s, but he's back into the minute 29s now with a 29.277, lapping ahead of his teammate.
So, question now is, this is the battle. Can Barry find something? We need to do something pretty soon. Is he just hoping that there's going to be a mistake from Jorgensen? In all fairness, Jorgensen's just taking this smooth now. Doesn't want to make a mistake. Didn't get a result really in the last race. Would love to get a decent result here. P4 at best right now. As the white flag does come out for Catalano. That's going to be it. And I just saw Stump on the push to pass as well. Gareth now using it, and do like it. You say it's Bizarro World. They always used to say Canada when it came to pro wrestling was Bizarro World. Everyone always cheered for the bad guys, but I think they'll all be cheering everybody in when they get through this race. As Hill really starts to close up here. Going to be an interesting final lap between these two, but I think Jorgensen, knock on wood, has got the gap.
It's a victory lap and double delight for Roberto Catalano. It's Paul Stump looking for a double podium, and it's Greg Garris looking to get third place. He has chewed through all of his push to pass in these last 2 or so laps, going from 55 down to just 26 seconds left. Catalano's still carrying 14 seconds of push to pass, and you can see up the road from him, Roger Janssen may just stay on the lead lap in this one. A final braking zone and a final chicane this season of 60 plus racing adventures. Indy Next is all about Roberto Catalano as he takes the double in Montreal.
Great drive out there today from Catalano. Another 4 points in the bag for him. This is the last battle going on after that mistake from Jorgensen. Needs to really just get ahead, and that's what he's doing. Barry does have push to pass left, but it's not going to be enough to try and catch up 1 second unless he's got a rocket ship for a push to pass button. He'll try and close up as much as he can. It won't matter. Jorgensen will come home with that P4, and Barry will just be complacent with the P5 in. Credit's due. Every driver finishing on the lead lap. Janssen will be the last man in. He'll keep on coming in. McCormack will be next on by. But here is Holmstrom, one of the Swedes. And the Swedes will be coming to the end of the race. And it'll be a good day in the office for everybody, and a little bit of a cleaner race. Sans that one incident into turn 1.
With one remaining driver to cross the line, the 8 positions are all locked in. Roberto Catalano winning from Paul Stump and Greg Garris, Gerhardus Jorgensen, Barry Hills, Michael McCormick, and Peter Holmstrom. Roger Janssen will eventually finish his lap on the lead lap in 8th. Our podium join us now, including on that podium for the first time tonight, Greg Garris. Well done. We heard you earlier, by the way, Greg. And now we don't. How does that happen?
I'm still here. Don't worry. I'm still here for you, David. Don't worry. I'm not sure if we've got Greg here at the moment. Greg, do we have a copy? I'm going to say no, David. We don't have a copy with Greg after that, but he's going to be happy with that P3. Another podium to his name, though. Not the best first race. Getting that P3, he'll be very happy.
I assure you, Greg Garris is trying studiously to join us on the line after his podium in race 2. Perhaps we come back to him and Craig speaks to our double race winner, Roberto Catalano, first.
Yep. Let's have a quick word with Roberto. Congratulations, Roberto. Another victory for the night. It didn't look comfortable early. Were you using the push to pass to get that lead early? Because you used a lot of it early doors.
Yes, I use push to pass to create a gap with the pole, and I think in this race it's the best way for me to use on the hairpin, exit of the hairpin. I go in first, second, and push to pass on the 5. I do it.
Well, it's another 49 points for you. It's a perfect round again. Every round perfect, apart from Road America to start the season. 3 more races to go. The championship's not sealed yet. Mathematically still out there. And I know you've got a few more races before we're back at Laguna, but you've got Chicago coming up and you've got Daytona. They're both going to be similar to this track, I feel, where it's just going to be a game of keep ahead of everybody and avoid those slipstreams, it feels like.
I don't know Chicago. I never ran in Chicago. I love Laguna, and we'll see. Every race is an adventure, and the championship is important, but every race is an adventure, and I hope to enjoy in all of them.
Well, it's an adventure for a reason. We love seeing you. I know everyone loves racing this. Roberto, congratulations on 2 victories for the night. We'll let you go and have a nice shower or something because it is a hot one in Europe at the moment and you've deserved the rest. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
That, David, was Roberto Catalano, our victor. And I wonder if we'll be able to get a chat. Well, you get a chat with Greg.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Greg? Well done on the podium. Something's backwards for Greg. Anytime he wants to talk to us, we can't hear him, and twice we've heard him, but he's not aware that he's coming across. Greg.
Sorry, guys. Can't hear you.
Greg can't hear us, but we can hear him. Third time not necessarily going to be the charm on that one. We wish Greg the best of luck with those 3 races coming up, and you won't have to wait too long till you see 60 Plus Racing Adventures Indy next on RaceSpotTV again, September the 2nd. Chicago Street Circuit will be a tough learning curve for everyone. Daytona, always a great track, and Laguna Seca. I wonder if any Italians have ever made any good overtaking maneuvers to win a championship at Laguna Seca. Hopefully, Roberto Catalano is a big Alessandro Zanardi fan. He's also on his way to a great championship by securing 2 race wins at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I've been David Haynes with Craig King. It's been Hugo Lewis in the production for us on RaceSpot TV. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you at Laguna Seca September 2nd.